Welcome everyone. I'm quite new to Final Fantasy XIV and before I played World of Warcraft, but there's someone that has been playing World of Warcraft for 15 years and just recently tried out Final Fantasy XIV. And yeah, today we are going to have a look at our 15-year-long WoW nerds first impressions of Final Fantasy XIV. And I'm like really excited to see what this person thinks about Final Fantasy XIV, the game that we all love, right? So yeah, let's have a look at this.
Hello there. I played WoW for 15 years, and now I'm here. Now, how did that happen?
Wow.
Well, it's actually quite simple.
That's way longer
I had quite
than
a
me.
few personal things that I had to deal with, and that kind of kept me away from literally everything. And while I was dealing with said personal stuff, I had a couple friends who came by and told me, hey, you should play this game. And I was like, okay. I didn't quite fight him a whole lot about it because I learned beforehand that this game had a certain crossover going on, so that was kind of all the incentive I really needed. So yeah. So, now that the introduction is out of the way, how do I feel about this video game so far?
Wow, that's a good question.
Let's start at the beginning.
Oh yeah, the character creation.
When I was going to make a character was an endless void.
Oh, it took me eternity to make one.
My soul tells me. No, wait, it was just loading in. So, what are my options? You have person, pointy-eared lanky person, an evil lawn ornament, Elon
What? They're not evil.
Project, big person, anime edgelord or anime waifu, and a Playboy model. And yes, these two are gender locked. No, my choice here was obvious.
Really?
It's not because of being like normal or anything like that. Pfft, nah.
I actually feel like a lot of people that are like new to this game might actually play you over anything else or Mikote. Because like, I don't know, like if you play like a human, it's like you can't do anything wrong, right? Like you don't need to know so much about the lore and you can't like do the wrong naming. If you're, especially if you're like into RPing or something, right? Because some of the races have unique namings, like the Mikote and also the Lalafell, right? But yeah, when I made my first character, you can see this on my first Let's Play episode, it took me so long. I had to freaking edit this even out because it was so freaking long. I think it took me, I'm not gonna lie, maybe like 20 minutes to make my first character. Because there are so many customization options that are not in other games so detailed, right? Like in WoW you have now more customization options, but back then you barely had any, and even now it's definitely less than here. And yeah, if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget hit that subscribe button for more content, and I also really appreciate if you like this video. Anyway, let's continue this.
It's because it's the best way to fight for the glory of mankind. I also gotta pick a birth month, which is worded other things, but if you count them out, there's like 12 months, so do the math. Then I gotta pick which god person to be my guardian. Both this and the previous thing are just pure RP elements and pretty inconsequential.
Would they actually change that? I've heard rumors that they want to add some stats to those.
Now I gotta pick a job to
I hope
start
they
with.
don't.
And my options here are... Are you not entertained?
Just a guy who's a hero for fun.
Oh wow. Lancer is cool.
He's a singing man.
Hahaha, Gundam style. What the heck?
Lancer, because they poke things to death, and I like poking things.
Oh.
I had to name the person. I went with Lucia Caritas because Lucia is cool, as broken as it may be through Google Translate. So I start off being wagoned away.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
Finally awake.
And similar to real life.
Like Skyrim. Yo, but this also got me the first time I started. It was also in Gridania, like how it starts like in freaking Skyrim. There are some similarities here, right?
Awake.
And similar to real life, I get ambushed by the realities of this world shortly after being born.
The dangers are coming.
I'm sent to UI school to be spoon-fed all the basic things in life. Oh, so that's what WASD does. Wowzers.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
With a mouse, press S for success. Oh man, I am just gonna dominate this game. And after I got the hang of things, I started my journey through pretty much the same type of quests I get in WoW. But anyway, yeah, that's what your typical starting experience is probably gonna be like. There's a key difference though after you hit level 30 though. You actually start taking part of an actual like Final Fantasy-esque grand journey, and to anyone who's played WoW,
you unlock new cities.
Oh, I actually matter in the lore of this game? Yeah, it's weird, I know. You can come back after slaying like an actual titan in WoW, and you get like Thanos expecting you to still spit shine his shoes by the time you get back.
Really?
Let me have a look at you. Pathetic.
I hate that guy. I hate him. But anyways, yeah, you actually are like a focal point in this story. And it mostly goes back to the production team keeping the philosophy of this is a Final Fantasy first and an MMO second. So with that said, I really have to emphasize that if you're gonna go through leveling in this game the traditional way, you gotta be willing and wanting to have a Final Fantasy story-driven narrative, because this is...
But that's true, the story is so freaking deep in this game. I was not used to such a deep story in an MMO. Like, I've played ESO before, and ESO has a lot of story, I'm not gonna lie, and there's like a lot of quest dialogues, many like so-called like cinematics and stuff. And there's like a lot of story, but I feel like here's even more than in ESO, and definitely much more than in WoW. Like World of Warcraft, don't get me wrong, has some cool lore and story, but it's not as deep as here. Most definitely not.
Absolutely a Final Fantasy story-driven narrative game. And to those of you who think you could just level through dungeons in this game to the top, you better think again, because literally everything in this game is locked
behind quests. Oh yeah, you need to look out for those blue ones.
You get through specific moments in the main story quest, also known as the MSQ. So yeah, leveling.
But you level so fast in dungeons here.
It's
insane. You get like 2-3 levels per dungeon.
Unless you fork up some dough. So I'll say what I think and what a general consensus of other players seem to think. It's slow at first. So there's a whole belief that.
But hey, let's go back there. Let me show you guys something. Where was that? Yeah. Wait, where is it? Here. You should not do this. This is so... Oh my god. Like, why would you boost in a game that you're new to? Like, I think boosting in any MMO game should be for alts. Like, if you make a second character for whatever reason, or you want to get into a different kind of race or something, like, yeah, you can do that, but don't do this if this is your first time, because you're gonna hate the game. I feel like very small portions of players still enjoy the game after boosting.
So there's a whole belief that first impressions are everything when it comes to the bargaining table or something.
Usually,
like that.
yes.
And Final Fantasy XIV honestly doesn't really suck with its first impressions, but it definitely felt
takes time to get used to, I guess.
The biggest reason why it feels slow, outside of the fact that it's the basic fetch quest and kill X amount of things, please, is that the abilities you start with are kind of few and far between. Oh,
and it takes you 4 or 5 levels per new skill.
Dragoon or Lancer. Like, this is all I had. This is all I had to work with. It's not much. Oh, did I mention that this game has a 2.5-second global cooldown? Yeah, well, it has that. That's in here.
But it's okay because you often need to dodge mechanics and stuff anyway.
This super mega simple class ends up getting fleshed out super mega hard by the time you're, what, 60, I think? I'm currently stuck with like
much
the
more
level 70
skills
toolkit in the content that I'm doing right now, and I gotta tell you, like, now I gotta be able to nail like a 19 ability combo or rotation for me to get like up to par in DPS with everyone else. So,
and that right there is exactly what I'm so excited about, to reach a high level and to have like bosses with those mechanics where I need to freaking hide behind the rock, and then after a few seconds the rock will maybe like explode and I need to get out. Like, I can't wait to get there. I think I'm now on level 32 on my character. Because I'm also pretty new, I started like not too long ago, and I made like the multiple characters, what was a mistake. I should have focused on just one character, because you can do every job on one character. And yeah, I was like testing around like the starting zone, so I made like multiple ones. But yeah, once I'm level 60, oof, all our streams will also be lit. And yeah, if you haven't followed me on Twitch, like, feel free to check out my Twitch. I stream there from time to time Final Fantasy XIV, and I can't wait to do that, and especially on stream.
Things do absolutely get more fleshed out later on in the levels. That actually applies to pretty much the entire game as well.
Wow.
Ranging between the story, the game mechanics, the music, the artistic direction, everything about the game just gets better the longer you play it. And it does feel like you're progressing towards something.
He seems to really like the game.
Though, like, the whole leveling experience is actually like really great once you actually like get yourself immersed in the story and actually progress along with it. In fact, I'd wager that the leveling experience may be one of the best experiences in the whole game.
Yes, because it has much story. It's not so boring. It's not like brain dead killing mobs.
This leveling experience is quite phenomenal. Of course, like after A Realm Reborn at least. And for you WoW folks, I'm sure you're curious about this other thing.
Oh, there's so many. Over 50, right?
Specific format, I noticed. Just about all of them have like 3 bosses and 2 to 4 packs of mobs in between. The bosses are also like super well telegraphed to where I almost don't need a guide to beat them. It's kind of impressive, really.
Yeah, most part, for most part, not.
Boss fights that have like no telegraphs to their attacks, and you have to rely on doing things the old WoW style and just watching the ability they're casting. Not the current WoW style, the old WoW style. Current WoW style, you just listen to DBM. But overall, the dungeoning experience is rather.
But you know what's even better here in comparison to some other games? Like the freaking dungeons, you scale with them. So let's say you are now level 80, you are on top of the game, you have like the best gear possible and everything. And you want to do like a dungeon that's for, let's say, level 16, for example. So you can get into a level 16 dungeon with your level 80 character and you can still freaking die because you're downscaling with the dungeon. So you could, if you wanted to, also play with a newer player and you can do together the dungeon. Like let's say you invite a friend to start playing Final Fantasy XIV with you and you want to play together, but the issue is you're level 80 and your friend just reached level, let's say 18. And you want to do like the second or third dungeon that you unlock in this game together. And in this game you freaking can. If you play, let's say, World of Warcraft or World of Warcraft Classic or something, like you cannot play with a new player in a dungeon unless you're either making also a new character or you want to have like a, how do I say, like for example, I was like farming transmogs with a friend in World of Warcraft retail. And we got so bored from doing the dungeons that are from like, let's say, Wrath of the Lich King and the other expansions. Because in World of Warcraft, the dungeons, they don't freaking scale with you and you don't scale with them. And you literally one-shot everything. I was like brain dead walking through dungeons, ignoring all mechanics and just one-shotting everything to get my freaking transmogs and stuff. And it's cool that in Final Fantasy XIV, it's not like that and you have a challenge, even in the early game dungeons, because you are going to downscale with that. So you can lose HP.
Rather simple in its neatly wrapped formula that the company seems to use all the freaking time. And
honestly,
it's many. I'm kind of fine with it because despite there's
60
only
dungeons
3 bosses
or more, right?
roughly per dungeon, sometimes there's fewer, they still bring something new to the table. Like it really starts kicking up after A Realm Reborn. Like a lot of things happen after A Realm Reborn. They add new mechanics and stuff.
Wow,
that is like
that's
really
a cool dungeon.
Here and, and because that they
machines?
do that, it keeps the whole experience really fresh. And because of that, I personally had a really great time just going through the dungeons. But then you get to the
trials. Ooh. Yeah, that's endgame for you.
These things start getting really spectacular looking the further you get into the story.
Oh,
so these things are like instance fights where you fight one boss. And that's all it is. You just fight one boss. They start off rather simple in design and spectacle, but as you get further and further in, the animators, designers, VFX artists and whatnot decide, hey, let's get pretty. And good God,
it is really pretty. It's very flashy here in this game.
It's actually ended up leaving me dead a couple of times.
Yeah, sometimes
the music changes according to the phase of the fight. It's
oh yeah, like Oblivion.
Honestly, the music in general in this game is just so
Shiva Part 2, right?
Good, man. I mean, Final Fantasy has always had a strong musical history, but that was mostly under Nobuo Uematsu, who wrote a huge
like it's so freaking epic.
1 to 9, and assisting with the music in
like the music, I really love the music in Final Fantasy XIV, and that what he said with like the dungeon, if you get to a certain boss phase, like you can have freaking pianos instrumental, like very calm, and suddenly it turns into freaking heavy metal. Is it like that with like Shiva, with the boss fight? Like phase 1 is like so classical, and then it turns into freaking J-rock suddenly. Like it's insane. Like it's so cool, like how the music is in the boss fights and in at the different stages and stuff.
Like 10 through 12 and Final Fantasy XIV 1.
I love it too.
Someone else is holding the reins for the majority of this game's music, and that's Masayoshi Soken.
Where do I get this pet? I really want this one.
Genius.
Oh, he is.
A genius!
He is.
I can gush on and
really
on
good.
about the music side of things, but I think I'll hold off on that for maybe another video, if I ever get around to that. But anyways, yeah, I wish I could like say more about like the actual rating scene as well, but as of the moment, I'm still working my way through the main story, so a bunch of those things are kind of locked to me still. So unfortunately, I can't really say.
You'll get there eventually. Don't worry. Take your time and enjoy the game. That's my suggestion.
With that said, I would like to say more about the game as well, but for now, I think I'll hold off for another time. I felt like I just needed to cover like leveling and dungeons for now, because there's a lot in this game. There's a lot of content in this game. There's a reason I spent a month of
gold saucer.
and still haven't completed the main story.
I have to do that.
There's a lot to do in this game. You get your money's worth, especially now that there's a trial. This recent patch that came out, they adjusted the trial to where you can go all the way up to level frickin' 60 in this game, which is the end of the Heaven's Ward expansion. And for a frame of reference, the current maximum level is level 80.
He's still on free trial?
So you're getting like 3/4 of the game for free. So yeah, if that's not incentive to like...
Yeah, but that's really insane, guys. If you're watching my video and you never played Final Fantasy XIV, there's a free trial that lets you experience the full first expansion, and you can do your first like dungeons and raids and everything. You don't even need to freaking pay a single cent, and there's no time limit on the free trial, but there's a cap. You can only be, I think, maximum level 60 if I'm not mistaken, and you can't go beyond. And from what I've read, that's more than 200 hours of playtime you have in the free trial. And it's not when you have reached 200 hours of playtime you can't play anymore, but it's like after 200 hours you usually have done everything that you can on free trial. And if you want like additional content, yeah, then you would need to buy the game, subscribe, yeah.
I give it a shot, then I don't know what is. But yeah, I'm gonna end the video here and have it act almost as a primer for potential things.
He also has a very positive experience like me.
My thoughts on the game, just let me know, and I'll see if I can't make more videos about the game. But for now, I think I'll just end it here. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful life.
Oh yeah.
Take care, folks.
You too. That's interesting to see another person's opinion on that. Oh wow. So yeah, he also has a very, very positive impression about Final Fantasy XIV, like Lucron. And Lucron, if you're watching my video for some reason and you end up here, don't worry about rushing, take your time, enjoy the story. That's also what I decided to do. I was kind of like rushing at the beginning and everyone was like, oh Marcel, don't rush. If you rush, you're not gonna enjoy the game as much, right? But yeah, this video was made in August 2020, so I'm pretty sure he's already maxed and did everything, but yeah, wow, interesting. But the dungeons there in Final Fantasy XIV, like I'm so excited to get into dungeons and trials because I love doing that. I used to do that a lot in WoW and do like a lot of Mythic Plus runs and stuff recently. Before I started playing Final Fantasy XIV, I was always doing Mythic Plus. And I find the dungeons that I've done so far in Final Fantasy XIV really fun. They are really interesting mechanics. Like last night I was doing a dungeon with a friend of my FC. And I was also with like others because we're cute. And there was like this cool dungeon where you had to kill those fireballs, otherwise they will do something to the boss and it will get like more difficult and stuff. So I was taught like the mechanics. I was like focusing on DPS at the boss, but every several seconds or so I had to go and kill some stuff that was like spawning. It was like really, really fun to me. And I can't wait to do like more dungeons. So far I think my journey has been really great with Final Fantasy XIV. I was at first a bit annoyed because of the story-driven game, because I was not used to it, and I'm pretty sure that like players that are not used to story a lot, they will get a bit annoyed. But if you actually read the dialogue, and that's how I got over the annoyed, you realize that the story is actually very fun and it's very touching. It's like you're going to a freaking Lord of the Rings movie, for example, and you have maybe no clue about Lord of the Rings, so you watch it at first, you're like, oh, what is that? What's going on? But then when you're like at, let's say, the second movie or something, you're so into the lore and everything, and it gets even more interesting. But there are also a few people that from the start are very excited, but the majority gets excited over the time and the further you go, because you end up being attached to the world and your character, and you get more story driven because you know A already, then you want to know what's B, what's C, what's happening in chapter D, and you just keep advancing and more into the story. That's how I'm feeling right now personally. But yeah, that was interesting to see another former WoW player's perspective on Final Fantasy XIV, and what I hope and wish for Final Fantasy XIV, because right now there's a big hype going on and so many WoW refugees and also people from ESO and other games are moving to Final Fantasy XIV. I really hope the game stays popular in the way it is now, and I do see a good future for it because Endwalker is not out yet and there's already such a big hype. I'm pretty sure by the time Endwalker comes there will be like another phase of hype, and by then there will be like so many players and many get attached or they subscribe and they will probably stay around. So the game is definitely still in a growth phase and it's definitely not at the peak, I think. But yeah guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys stay all safe and healthy. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you guys next time.